Hi, and welcome to another virtual drop-in drawing where we bring the museum to you with a series of art making and drawing exercises meant to challenge and grow your creative skills. My name is Darcy, and I'm the managing educator for family and teen programs at the Met. For today's session, we're going to focus on simplifying objects to create a decorative border. With that in mind, we're going to focus on this prayer book, which you can find in our collection at the Cloisters. There's a coat of arms that appears in other sections of the book, which indicates that it was made for Bonne of Luxembourg, also known as the Duchess of Normandy. She actually died from the plague in 1349 at the age of 34, and this book was made a couple years before that. This book was likely made by Jean the Good, who collaborated with his daughter. She was a famous illuminator who worked with her father to illustrate manuscripts. And during this time, the number of female artists was rising, so her collaboration with her father is especially important to note. For inspiration, we are only going to focus on the right-hand page we see here. All of the illustrations in the book are carefully done with a skilled hand familiar with careful line work created with black ink. This page has a rectangular shaped border, which is what we will focus on for our drawings today. The border was created to look like tree branches, and the branches have two different kinds of leaves that are growing from them. Some of the leaves have 3 points, and some of them are more heart-shaped. And they're all painted in colors that are red, blues, and yellows. If you look very carefully, the coloring of the leaves that are yellow seem to be completely filled in, and the ones that are blue and red are not. On this page and throughout the pages of the book are a series of birds. In total, throughout the book, there are over 300 different birds. This page in particular has 6 birds total, 2 of which you can find at the very top of the border and 4 which you can find along the right side. The birds on this page are filled in using similar colors to what we see in the leaves as well. While we're only going to focus on the branch-like border, the leaves, and the birds, there are representations of 2 people and another animal on this page as well. In the top right, there's a man who appears to be floating or flying with a long stick and something that looks sort of like a shield. It's almost like an oval shield. The wrinkles of this man's robes actually connect to the border on the top right, and also seems to be connected to an animal that I think is a dog. This figure and the animal interrupt the border, but also interrupt the border on the right top of the page. The other figure on this page is a woman with yellow hair dressed in a pale pink dress on the bottom middle border. She's holding scales, which represents the zodiac sign of Libra. Directly to the left of her are grapevines with green leaves and a bunch of purple grapes. This time of year in particular is really known for harvesting, and during the medieval period they harvested grapes for wine. While wine was used for religious purposes, it was also important for other reasons. For example, the water wasn't always safe to drink, so people would drink wine instead, or sometimes wine was used for medicinal purposes. The page on the left illustrates how they made wine back during the medieval period. In the 1300s, this time of year in particular was when they would spend some time making wine. And so they would take a large tub, something similar to what you see on the left-hand side page, and they would put all the grapes on the bottom and then put a board on top that had some holes in it. And then someone would actually stomp on that board to extract the juice. If you've ever watched I Love Lucy, you might be familiar with the hilarious scene of Lucille Ball stomping grapes when she was on vacation in Italy. The pages of this book remind me so much of autumn, and it inspired me to take a walk in my local park and pick up some leaves from the ground to draw from. The changing colors of the leaves and the leaf shapes are really fun to draw and reference. If you decide to gather your own leaves as inspiration for your drawing, just make sure you leave any insects outside. Also note that depending on where you are, Leaves tend to dry up in the autumn and might be delicate to the touch, so you might want to draw your leaves within a few days of gathering them. With that being said, let's get started with the demo. Okay, before we get started, you're going to want to pull the materials that you'll need for your drawings today. I started with a sheet of white paper. This is just printer paper that I had at home. I will also be showing you a sketch that I did in my sketchbook, so if you have a sketchbook, feel free to grab that. Whatever you have at home is totally fine. The page doesn't even have to be white, as we can see from this manuscript. It's a little off-white, so even if you have a different color paper, that's fine. I have my pencil for drawing. For these kinds of drawings, which are more line-based, I like a pencil with more of a point. This pencil is great, and if you have it at home, you should use it. But I found that for me, drawing with this pencil created more of a thicker line because of the point. So it's not my preferred pencil, but if that's what you have, go ahead and use it. Because I'm using a pencil, I have my pencil sharpener, and I don't have the best erasers at home, so I actually just pulled a mechanical pencil that has an eraser that I can use. Other materials, and these are totally optional, feel free to pull them if you have them, but if you don't, it's all good. I have some color pencils here. I pulled just a few colors. I probably would have pulled less, but I just wanted to show the range of colors that you could use on a drawing like this. And then finally, if you want to make your lines look black, similarly to the manuscript, you can pull a pen that has a felt. I like to use felt pens, but you can use any kind of black pen that you have at home as well. The other thing that you may want to pull when you're out for a walk in the park are some leaves. I pulled these leaves from my local park. They were just on the ground, and I thought that they had really interesting shapes. They are very brittle, so I have to be very careful with them. But it's fall, in New York, and so the leaves are falling. So if you can find some leaves that you like, that you think are interesting, grab them. They're a great reference. Otherwise, you can basically take the examples from the manuscript and draw those. And finally, I didn't pull a straight edge, but if you have something like a ruler and you are a stickler for straight lines, you may want to grab a ruler or a straight edge, like the edge of a book or a piece of cardboard, to create the lines of the border. I'm going to freehand it. So it's up to you how you want to sort of set your page up, if you want to use a straight edge or not. So let's get started. I'm just gonna take my pencil, and when I look at this drawing in particular, the first thing I notice is that there's a rectangular frame. And so you just want to start by sketching out your rectangular frame on the page. And again, I'm freehanding. If you want to use a ruler, you can line it up better. But for me, this feels fine because this drawing in particular, there may be some points where I'm just going to erase a little bit or move things over. So there, we're going to start with our rectangle on the page. I'm going to start at the bottom left. And when I look at this picture, first of all, the frame, because it looks like branches or parts of trees, it is that there's a double line basically. So we'll have to recreate that somehow. And on this bottom left, the reason I'm starting here is because it comes out, it curves a little bit to create the branch that's flowing on the bottom. So I'm just going to make the branch flow from this straight line that I created here. So I'm just going to curve it down and curve and make the curve that goes up. And as you can see, I'm not curving it so that it's lying on this almost straight line that I created here. It's coming off, and that's fine. When you look at this drawing in particular, none of the lines are exactly straight. There are some bumps. To create the thickness of the branch of the frame, I just want to make a parallel line once I'm happy with my original line to make that shape, make that look like a branch. So actually, I'm going to follow this bottom line that I have here for the bottom up part of the branch, and then just draw a parallel line above it to create the thickness. If you want, this could be a good point to go in and erase whatever you don't want there anymore, or you can leave it. I like a sketchy look, so feel free to leave it. I may leave mine a little bit later. For the bottom branch, it comes down and back around. It goes towards the middle of the page, curves up. I'm freehanding at this point. I like my branches with a little bit of a point at the end. So again, to create the thickness that you may want for this curve, I'm actually going to, I like the line that I drew, my original curve line. And so I want to make the parallel line curve above it, and then it'll flow under. So that's the bottom left. So you just want to do that on all the corners. I actually think starting from the corners is easiest when doing a drawing like this. So if you look at the bottom right corner, it also has the curve. The curve actually curves under towards the bottom. So I'm just going to curve it. And this is a really fun corner because there's a branch that curves towards the right-hand side of the page. And then there are two sections that branch off. One that goes up along the right-hand side of the page, and one that curves down, and it even branches off again. So when you curve down and you move towards the middle of the page, you can actually go back and sketch another branch that comes out towards the bottom right of the page. Again, you want to create the thickness, so I just will go back in and create a parallel line that meets this straight edge that I created, and do the same all around on all these branch features. And because we're sketching, there's going to be lots of little guidelines for ourselves that you can go back and erase later. So now we have two corners. So if you look on the right side of this frame, towards the middle, it's more like the bottom half of the middle. There's a little bit of a bump. And then towards the top, there's a figure, and we're not really going to spend a lot of time on the figure today, but I'm going to make a really simple shape to designate where that space is. I'm probably not going to work on that today. You can check out past drop-in drawing videos for how to draw a figure that may help you add that figure back in. So this right-hand side, again, I'm just gonna make parallel lines, curve it, work my way up towards the top of the top right of the page. And there, I have my thickness of the branch. And then on the top left-hand side, there's a really fun corner. There's this actually doesn't even look like a straight line on top when I'm looking at it. So I'm actually going to just use this top line more as a guide. So what I see on the top left is a curve, and then the curve is the branch, and it kind of flows. It dips a little down towards this guiding line that I created, and then dips back up. And so now I'm going to connect this whole left side. So my guide, the original line that I drew in, I'm fine with it. So I'm just going to draw over it so I remember that that's the line I like. And then I'm going to draw a parallel line to create the thickness of the branch that goes straight back up into my left-hand corner, and then leads straight into the top of this frame. And again, if you decide that you want to erase some of the lines, I'm going to erase this corner a little bit. I do like sketchy lines, so sometimes I do leave it. At this point, I noticed on the right hand side of this frame, there are more branches that come off of this frame. And so to create the one that curves, this is like in the middle towards the top. There's a branch that kind of comes off of the frame, curves under, and actually splits and goes, one part goes down and one part goes up. And then you just want to decide, okay, where do I want the parallel line to make the thickness of it? So you may want to play around with that. At this point, I'm just playing around with shapes and how I want stuff to look on the page. So I'm not being exact to the original work of art. Okay. And then on the left-hand side, there's more just leaves. There's not so much the thick branches that we see everywhere else. So I'm just going to leave that alone for now. At this point, you might be ready to start playing around with your leaf shapes. So I'm going to set this aside for a second and take another piece of paper because the leaves on the page that we're looking at are really small. And if you look at a leaf in real life, they're pretty complex shapes. They're not just like a straight triangle or a straight rectangle, right? There's different points that come out. It's more organic, right? So every leaf kind of looks different. So the leaves that I'm going to focus on, I pulled a few today, but the ones that I actually really love out of this collection that I have here is this three-pointed leaf. And so when you're sketching this three-pointed leaf, one way to do it is to actually break it down into simple shapes. So this looks like 3 triangles to me for the leaf shape. So I'm going to draw my first triangle, which is the top point. I see a triangle here on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side. And then in the middle where it meets the stem, it sort of dips, it curves it dips in, right? So I'm going to just lay down the stem. I want it in that space. And so this reminds me of an upside down heart. So it kind of curves like that and comes up into the triangles we started to draw. If you want to be specific, there's like veins on here, and so you can sketch them in. But for our drawing purposes, you don't need to be that specific. Once I've mastered this shape, I think I've kind of mastered it. I like it. I'm ready to make it a smaller shape so that it'll fit on our page. So what I like to do is I like to practice. And when I'm practicing, I'm going to make my leaf a little bit smaller. And this was probably, this actual leaf right here is probably still too large for the frame that I created on my original sheet of paper. So I still want to keep practicing it getting smaller and smaller so that I know that it still looks like a leaf. And that's a shape that I really like. I think this works pretty well and it'll work on my frame. So this is a leaf that I want to draw. Another leaf that you could try, this leaf was really fun to pick because as I was drawing it, I realized it looked like a heart shape. So the original shape is more of an upside down heart. And hopefully you can tell, but there's all this ridging on the edge, and it has more of a point with all this ridging. So when I practiced drawing this one, I was like, there's a point, and then there are these bumps that are along the right and the left side, and not so much on the bottom where it curves. So I'm going to recreate that shape, curve it, and there's that leaf. And again, if you want to take your pencil and go back in and erase the original guiding shape that you created, which was the heart, you can go ahead and do that. And this shape, as you make it a little bit smaller to fit on the frame, it may not have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bumps. And I actually think this probably isn't even equal to the number of bumps that are actually on this original leaf. As you make it smaller, I'm only fitting 3, 4. And this is still probably too big for the frame that we have that we're recreating. So even if you make it a little bit smaller, maybe your ridging gets a little bit smaller, but I'm still only fitting about 3 to 4 of these bumps on both sides. And again, you just want to make it look like a leaf, a believable leaf that you'd be able to see in nature, even if you're not putting in the details. So this is actually just simplifying the shape and making it a little bit smaller. With that being said, I can go back to my original drawing and try to fit these leaf shapes within my drawing. Again, these are not the leaves that maybe they were looking at for this manuscript. These are the leaves that I just found in my local park. I'm making it very local to where I am now. So now it's time to try to figure out how to lay these leaf shapes. So let's work on the left side, since there seems to be more space, more room, and there are some of those simple leaf shapes. So and branch shapes. So sometimes what I see on the left-hand side is just a little line that curves from the frame, and then 2 leaf shapes. So this one curves up and one curves down, and I'm going to recreate the 3-pointed leaf that we have here. So to lay it out, I'm just gonna again start with my triangles and then dip it in towards the stem. And now I have to draw it upside down. I've been drawing it right side up this whole time, so suddenly I'm a little out of my comfort zone. So I'm going to draw it upside down. There's that leaf shape. The other way to do it is just flip your page if you want, and draw it. So I see a few of these along this left side. I'm going to draw maybe one more to get my practice in for this leaf shape that I like. Now, on the right side of the page, it's pretty full. There are a lot of leaves on that side, and it seems like there are 2 different kinds of leaves. So you may want to be consistent and say, like, this branch will all get the same leaf, but maybe this branch gets a different leaf. It's totally up to you how you want to do that. So I'm going to practice drawing this leaf on the bottom of my test page. It seems like these leaves are just sort of coming off of these branches. So I'm going to start with my heart shape, create the little bumps, and finalize it so that you may find that as you're transferring the shapes that you practice onto your frame, that you will simplify the shape even more. Sometimes when I was drawing this, I ended up just drawing an upside down heart on as a leaf. And I kind of liked that. I kind of like the way that looks. So I'm just adding as I go along a few of these leaf shapes. And so now I actually have 2 different kinds of leaves on this branch. I like it, it's fine. The other thing to take note of on this drawing are the different birds that you can find all over the page. And so a really simple way to draw a bird, it's when you break down the shape, it's pretty much, and I'll look at the bird on the top left, it's pretty much a circle for the head. Then I like to draw, if I'm going to draw the wings, I feel like it's a straight diagonal line when I look at it. And then it has a curve for the body and the wing. And so actually I'm going to layer 2 curves. And then give it a little beak. And then you just start attaching these simple shapes together. So let me show you what this looks like as you sketch more. As you continue to sketch, you just want to continue to add the leaves throughout the frame, throughout the picture. I added a few of the birds onto this picture. I added 1, 2, 3. This version, I sketched out a little bit of what this person looks like, but it was more just a suggestion so that I remembered that that side of the page had a person. The other option, again, we talked about adding ink to these drawings. So after I sketched the whole thing, I just went back in with my felt pen and just laid out, or just followed the lines that I created. You can actually still see the pencil marks under. So that's another option for recreating this page. And then finally, I wanted to pull my sketchbook for you all because I added some colors. So when I was drawing these earlier, you can see my test page where I was working on the leaf shapes and creating simple shapes for them and then practicing. And then I added a little bit of color. The nice thing about this page in particular, when I was looking at it, is that some of the leaf shapes aren't completely filled in. So I was able to just add some quick little color, and it looked like the leaves and the birds actually when I was sketching. Well, friends, that's it for today. Keep working on your drawings, and the more that you work on it, the better you'll get. And make sure that if you're posting on social that you tag us, hashtag #MetSketch, so we can take a look at your work and repost. Otherwise, we'll see you in November.